Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Attack on Titan episode 46. When we last left off, Rod was turning into a Titan, and so the Levi squad showed up, saved Eren, and when it looked like they were all about to die, Eren found a convenient bottle of labeled armor that he ate, because he does that sometimes, and then got the ability to master his Titan hardening abilities, and so he saved everyone from the collapsing tunnel, and then the gang all headed to Orvud, where Erwin predicted that the new giant-ass Rod Titan was going. And that's kind of where we leave off. That and Historia has agreed to be queen, and what else was it? Historia's agreed to be queen, and right, Erwin will not evacuate the citizens of Orvud. And then before we get into the episode proper, I'd like to remind everyone that I have my Fall 2018 anime review straw poll in the description below. Fill that out. Tell me what you want to see me review for the fall season coming in October. That's only 2 weeks away. And yeah. So going on to the episode proper. When Erwin first revealed that, like, he wasn't going to evacuate Orvud, my first thought was that he was, like, had some, like, all week I thought he had some plan that Rod would never get to Orvud. But no, it's because Rod is, like, sensing a concentration of people, and he's going after that concentration of people, and that's why he's targeting Orvud. And I think that's a really, just kind of simple. It's like, we don't, like, you know, if Orvud evacuates, then Rod will just follow the evacuees into the capital, and this is not very good. Tearing a hole through Wallstina while he's at it. Which would then get Sunshine onto the Wall Titans. It'd be a whole other shenanigan. So good on Erwin for that. And, you know, I really like it. You know, in times past, the show has really brought up, you know, humanity's inability to come together, for lack of a word. And I really like that, like, here, humans are all like, Erwin tells the garrison guy, you know, we're not going to evacuate Orvud, and here's why. And the garrison guy's like, yeah, that sucks, but it makes sense. that's the best plan we got. And, you know, just like that, they're all on the same side. And then, especially after Erwin lays out his plan for an evacuation drill in case anything goes too terribly bad. And, you know, with that little contingency plan, the guy is like, yeah, that works. And I do like when we actually see the evacuation drill. The people are just not on board with it. You know, there's the old shopkeeper that's like, actually, can I go back to work? I need to, like, run my shop. And Hanji, is it Hanji or is it someone else? I forget. Just like, nope, you can't do that. And so, you know, everyone's automatically planning, like, or not planning, but thinking, like, oh, it's the military just trying to flex their might now that they're in charge now. And, oh, I liked the useless king because he didn't do shit like this. It's just really nice to see the different views of humanity. It's really nice, in my opinion, just in storytelling in general, when you get, you know, the wider picture and see that, like, the citizens aren't always on board with what the heroes are doing. So it's really nice to see that here. And then, moving on to the actual preparations for the fight with Rod, we see Historia, who wants to, you know, join the battle against her father. And one of the reasons she says is because if she doesn't go out and actually fight, the people aren't naive enough to accept a ruler in name only, which is kind of ironic, because that is exactly what humanity did for years. Decades, generations of people just, like, accepted the Fritz dynasty despite the fact that he did nothing. So, like, I mean, sure, Historia, sure. They aren't naive enough to accept a ruler in name only. Alright. But then, moving on to Eren, Eren is feeling really bad about his weakness and is seeing himself as, like, the cause of all of the calamity that's affected humanity the past few years. And he's just, like, really beating himself up over it. Literally, as we see later on, when he starts just literally, like, smacking himself around over it. Which is a little bit too on the nose, I feel, and I don't know, just feels kind of there. But I never, in my wildest dreams, thought I would reach the point where I'd want to give Eren Yeager a hug. But here we are. The boy needs it. The boy just needs someone to tell him that it'll all be alright. Maybe it won't be alright, maybe it will. He just needs to hear it. But while this is going on, the scouts and the garrison are having their blasting Rod with cannons. And interestingly enough, so normally if a Titan is hit anywhere but the neck, it will regenerate. Rod does not regenerate. He is just like, as he approaches Orvud, you see he's like riddled with holes. And then of course, when he shows up, his face is missing, as is his entire chest. You can see the skeletal structure behind it and the his guts and internal organs and everything down here. And I don't quite understand why he doesn't regenerate, especially because the whole final bit of the fight, which I'll get to in a minute, is based on, he'll regenerate if we don't get him now. Which seems kind of weird because he did not regenerate the entire trip to Orvud. Because we see that he had eyes at the beginning of his journey, and they're gone when he gets to Orvud. So he's clearly not regenerating that. And maybe, he's just, the constant damage to his front half is just the constant and repeated, and he does not stop destroying his front half the entire trip. And maybe that's why that doesn't heal. But that does not explain why the cannonballs don't heal. Because he is riddled with holes. Look at him. So yeah, that was just kind of a weird thing. So we find out that Erwin's plan was because the Rod Titan is too hard or thick or something. They can't because he's still a human in there. They have to cut him through the nape, and it's the same diameter, same area, same size and width and length of a normal Titan because he's still just one dude. And so in order to get around this, they have to stick a bunch of gunpowder through his throat and blow his nape off. Which is a fine plan. It makes sense. But what's weird is, and it was kind of my big problem with the entire climax of this episode, is that everything goes so splendidly. This is Attack on Titan. Nothing goes wrong for our heroes in this episode, in a show that is famous for everything going wrong. And it's not bad, per se. It's just kind of weird. Eren stuffs the gunpowder up Rod's throat without much of a fight. He's blown up. Everyone goes to slice up the little bits because one of them has a rod in it, and that works without a problem. Everything just goes so perfect. And it's so weird. The tension and the tone of the episode doesn't really feel like, kicking ass and taking names kind of deal. It feels like the general, fraught combat of Attack on Titan. And yet, the results don't quite justify the tension. Everyone walks away scot-free. And, everyone walks away. Historia gets the final blow on her father, because of course she does. She has this nice little bit about, her first act of, child rebellion. And then Historia lands on, a cushioned cart and declares herself queen. And that also, it just kind of, Historia's big declaration of becoming queen, I feel like should have some kind of, triumph to it. It just kind of doesn't. Also, a little weird thing. So, even though I know that, in the end, Erwin is saying that he can't actually stop Historia because he's too weak to stop her from going out and joining the fight, why does Erwin think he can even pretend to order the queen around? Historia is now the ruler of the walls. With Rod having lost his mind, and with Fritz being deposed, Historia is the queen. And Erwin still shows up yeah, I'm gonna tell you what to do, Historia. What the fuck? But thankfully, the end of the episode comes in with just enough intrigue to really make up for the kind of weak climax of Rod's character. And that starts off when we see the devastation left in Rod's wake. And we see the ground, and then there's a gap between the ground and where Rod was crawling. and the Earth is hollow for like maybe 3 or 4 meters and held up by pillars of Titan hardening. And the ground is also Titan hardening. Holy shit. The entire ground is made of the same shit as the walls. I don't even know what to do with this. And judging by the little bit we get at the next time preview, it looks like they're going to be bringing this up in more detail next week, which is good. This cannot be something we drop. This is a huge fucking plot twist. It's like practically glossed over this episode. Because after that, we see Kenny crawled out of the ruins of the Crystal Cavern, where the highlight of this arc happened. Where Levi and another scout shows up, and Levi sends the other scout away and has a final conversation with Kenny, where he tells him his entire squad is dead. They were killed in the collapse of the tunnel by Rod's transformation, and that Kenny, who's now burned to the point where this entire part of his head has no hair, burn marks all down here, bleeding out of his gut. And he's like, yeah, Kenny, you're about to die. And then Kenny's like, am I? And he pulls out a briefcase with Titan serum. And that's how we end the episode. And, like, is he actually going to turn himself into a Titan? Like, it seemed like he didn't care. Like he wanted to be a Titan so that he could access the Founding Titan's powers. Back in episode 44, where he, like, freaked out on Rod for not revealing that only a race can use the Founding Titan's power. And so it seems like being a mindless Titan who might get lucky and eat Eren, who's the only Titan shifter left on Inside the Walls, just seems kind of not really his style. So I think he's going to die here. Judging by the next time preview, I think he's going to tell his entire past to Levi, including how they're related. I'm pretty sure Levi is a nephew, but it wasn't actually confirmed, I don't think. And then he's going to die. Maybe, like, give the Titan serum to the scouts to study. I think he's going to pull a bit of a, like, minor redemption here. That's where I'm feeling this is going. Just because it seems really out of character for Kenny to you know, basically die. Basically commit suicide. Mindless suicide by Titan injection, especially when Levi is, like, the #1 Titan Slayer on the planet. Or in the walls. Which is basically on the planet, but whatever. Yeah. I don't think he's gonna inject himself. That just seems incredibly pointless. Especially because there is no Titan shifter around. You know, he's way back, probably not too far from the chapel, given by how destroyed he is. And it took Rod an entire day to get from the chapel to Orvud. So I don't think Eren's anywhere nearby. So I think this is going to be it for Kenny. He's going to tell all of his backstory to Levi, which I really feel like it's about time. Because, you know, I really felt like there was all this good material with Kenny that we weren't being shown. And when I saw him almost dead, I was like, am I really going to have to go and read some spin-off manga about Levi's past to get in on this? I know there is a spin-off manga about Levi's past. No Regrets, I think it's called. I have not read it. But I imagine it covers some of this stuff. Like, I was getting pretty pissed that, like, it looked like we were just going to abandon all of that. So I'm very excited that next week we're finally going to get all the details about Kenny. I never thought, so going into this season, Levi was far and away my least favorite character. He was just kind of, like, I'm not a fan of no emotions except kill, that kind of archetype. I just find it incredibly bland. People like to, like, use that, like, a cool, mysterious character. They're just all boring. And finally, with this season, I really started to be interested in Levi a little bit. He's still far from my favorite character. That's still probably Hanji. Maybe Jean. But, like, I'm definitely excited to see a bit more of his past. And so I imagine next week we're going to get Kenny will tell everything to Levi, and then he'll die. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts for this week's episode. All in all, it was just kind of anticlimactic. You know, we have some great shots, like the 3 little kids looking up on the Rod Titan, directly mirroring young Eren, Mikasa, and Armin looking up at Bertholdt at the very beginning of the series, the Colossal Titan. But other than that, it was just kind of anticlimactic. Everything went super well for the Scouts in a way that it never goes for the Scouts. So like, alright. I mean, looking back on it, that's kind of a recurring theme of the arc, almost. Like with Erwin. Erwin's whole coup d'etat plot went off perfectly. The only time things did not go perfectly, and incidentally, the best part of the arc, was that whole scene in the Crystal Cavern where Rod became a Titan and we got all the backstory about the races. And so, yeah, I'm hoping next week is not just so easy for the Scouts. I'm hoping we learn some really like horrifying truths in the next episode. Apart from that, that's really all I had to say for this week's episode of Attack on Titan. I hope you all enjoyed the episode a bit more than I did, and at the very least, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe or fill out that straw poll, please. Or, you know, I'm not the boss of you. Do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye.